I dropped a box of beads, and now there's beads all over the floor. So let's have some fun with it while I clean up these beads. Okay. Oh no, great. Oh, it's fine. It'll be fine. Makes the video more fun for you guys. I hope you like that. I hope you're gonna like this one. You better. Oh dear. Oh god. Hello everyone. My name is Super Mellow Yellow. Hi, that's me. I'm on the floor. Follow me on Instagram under the username Super Mellow Yellow. And then, on top of that, while you're at it, subscribe to me on YouTube if you want, because this video, unlike the other 2 videos I posted, this is going to end up on YouTube. Yay, yay. Whoop, whoop. This will be good fun. Depending on how I edit this is going to be the first thing you see of me, so hi, welcome to this channel. I'm the weirdo that wears a superhero mask, and I will continue to wear this silly looking mask for the rest of my career. Hopefully. Oh. Alright. Okay, break. We're just gonna do this. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. So today is about... Okay. It's a little qualm that I get with certain social influencers. Conservative social influencers. And don't get me wrong. Love them to death. Dave... Oh dear. I almost dropped something else. Dave Rubin. Love him. Love him to death. Steven Crowder. Heck yes, my man. Dude. You're coming up with them jokes, and you are hilarious, and making me keel over. I struggled to get jokes, so the fact that I get yours, Steven, and that I laugh my head off, that is that is a feat that not many people can say that they have done. Love them to death, don't get me wrong. However, they act as if science is the enemy. Like, I get it. Not many people understand the process of science and how exactly it works. The thing about this is, it's kind of hard to... There's really no way to truly know about how the sciences work unless you're in it, you know? So, okay. So, I don't know if you've watched my Rumble videos or not, but I'm wanting to do psychology. Is what I'm wanting to do. So as a part of this psychology schooling, as a part of these classes that I take at a university, they told us how the whole research process works. If you know about the marshmallow experiment, it was an experiment about delayed gratification, and I believe, let me double check here, delayed gratification marshmallow test experiment original. Okay, Stanford marshmallow experiment. Okay, Walter Mischel was a well, I think he's still alive actually, but so Walter Mischel did an experiment involving marshmallows. So they had a child sit in a chair at a table, and an adult, or like their parent or something, would come in and give them a marshmallow and set it on the table on a plate. And so what they would do, and the adult would say, now I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna leave the room for a few minutes, and if you don't eat this marshmallow, if this marshmallow isn't eaten by the time I get back, you will receive yet another marshmallow. Test experimenting on delayed gratification. It was a very interesting experiment, seeing how the children reacted. They said, let me double check, let me make sure that I'm telling you the truth. You know what, let me use my university database to find it. Stanford Marshmallow Experiment original results is what I searched up. Trying to find the actual I wonder if they had the actual study or a way to search for that. Let me see. Okay, another thing I will talk about maybe in the future video is how to read news articles. Because news articles covering studies are not... Sometimes they hit the nail on the head and they get it, like, dead on. But then a lot of times they sort of... How do I put this? Exaggerate what the studies actually found. So, essentially, the tricky part is knowing how to read the original research. Because for me, I can read it because it's right up my alley. It's the thing. It's what I do. You know, it's what I do. I know what I'm seeing, and I know what I'm reading, and I can make sense of it. But a lot of people who are out there in the world, it's not that they don't want to. It's just very difficult because there's not really a way to. There aren't many people willing to break down what certain phrases mean. And they don't really take the time to teach people. Especially, the number one thing I say is, or I ask someone whenever they're explaining something to me is, can you speak normal? Like, can you please speak normal? Translate that to normal, please. I like to ask people that whenever they're explaining something to me. So, yeah. Okay, so I went a little bit off track. Sorry about that. Marshmallow experiment. Mischel. Dr. Mischel. Sorry, I need to treat him with respect. He is my superior, so I'm gonna be respectful. Dr. Mischel, I will not do that again, I promise. Why won't it load? It won't load. Why won't it load? It won't work. Why won't it work? That's dumb. It don't work. Ah, found it. I found it. Alright, Wikipedia. No, before you say anything. No, I'm not actually going to use Wikipedia. I went down to the references section and I found the actual study there. Oh. Dang it. Hold up. Let me... Ooh, yay. Okay, good. That worked. Yay. It worked. Yay. Okay, goody. Goody. Okay. Alright, y'all. I got it. I got this. Alright. For those of you who have not seen a research article before, there are several little headings to look for. And no, it's not really decorated. Or I should say... They don't really... In scientific articles, they really don't do a good job of making visual distinctions between sections a lot of the time. So the only way to really see it is if you have to read it very closely and look in... Usually it'll be in the same font size as the rest of the writing, but it'll be in bold. No underline. And it'll be right in the middle of the paragraph thing. So I've pulled up this research article, and it looks like it's got the typical sections I usually see in a research article. So at first it's the introduction, and the introduction is pretty much the background info for... The way I like to think of it is the introduction sort of gives a precursor to why did this person ask this question? Or, hold up, let me back up a little. The first thing before you do any experiment, the whole point of it is there's a question you're asking. You just want to learn something. That's how a novel experiment usually starts, is, I wonder what would happen if we do this. That's what starts a person into doing a new experiment. So for instance, this is a very crazy experiment. What would happen if I clip this off? Would that make it a better mask? Or would that make it more stretchy? Would it make it more sturdy if I cut it this way? Oh, alright. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I wanted to save it. Oh well. Well, it's cut now, so yeah. But you get what I mean. But that's the introduction, is like not necessarily asking the question, although they do that towards like the end of that introduction thing. It's more of, what research do you have that makes you ask this question? Because if you're asking a question, you want to make sure that nobody has done research on this yet. You also want to make sure that, you know, there's research to back up how valid your question is. So that's what they do in the introduction section. And the introduction can be very long. Almost every single research article includes the method section. So the methods, they explain everything, exactly what they did, exactly what they used to set up this experiment. How you got the recruits, or how you got the people to do your experiment. How many people you got, how many people you wanted, the demographics of the person, the height, well, of course the height if it's applicable to the study. Any sort of demographics that might be useful to them, you include that. So that's the methods. And the results in the discussion, there is a results section and there is a discussion section. And those two, a lot of people tend to get mixed up. The results section is just them having a word vomit of everything they found. And that's all it is. But that being said, saying that's all it is, the results sometimes can be the longest part. Well, aside from the discussion, that is. This discussion goes on for 2.5 pages, and I will explain to you why here in a second. The results section is where you see all those little tables and those graphs and all that. That's where you see all that come into play. They say, I'll give you an example. For people with such an, disorder, for people that have X, they had more of this trait than people with Y. That's all it is them stating every single difference and every single similarity of them seeming to link up in some way. That's all that is. That's all the results section is. Now the discussion, though, is where the person really identifies how important this research is. Basically where they root for the data they discovered. This research is important because of this, this, and this. That's where they really nail that home. And in the discussion, they say why they think their results are, what makes their results so unique, what makes their results what they are, and what they could mean. And on top of that, disclose different ways that this data should be used in everyday, like medicine or psychological treatment, whatever it is. That's where they discuss all of that stuff. If I had to pick some things that the general audience really needs to look at when they're reading research papers, it's the introduction and the discussion. Because the discussion discloses what kind of errors they may have made in their research, but also what kind of strengths did their research have. I think that's where the discussion comes in, and also the introduction, to see where their heads were at when they were thinking of this experiment, to see what was going on behind the scenes a little bit. So if I had to pick, I would really recommend that people read the introductions and the discussions of research papers, if they can, if they have the time to. It's time consuming, but I think it's worth it, because a lot of people don't understand how. I'm not saying that these people are dumb. I am not saying that at all. It's time consuming, and sometimes it even goes over my head. Sometimes it just completely goes way over my head. Just being real. And I know people are going to be bored at this topic, but I mean, I feel like it needs to be discussed. no matter which side you're on, if you're on the left or the right, I think it's important to be able to understand what all these things are in a research article. So I took a class in my university, and one of the assignments was to compare a news article, but also is to compare a news article and the research article that the newspaper thing was about. And it was very eye-opening for me, because I knew that news articles could tend to exaggerate some of the stuff that they found, but I didn't realize it was that much. If you're wanting to look into that research stuff, find news articles about something that you think sounds interesting, even if the title sounds really exaggerated one way or another. I suggest looking at the news article, but then also finding the research article that goes with that. It was very interesting and eye-opening for me when I first did it. And before anyone on the left or the right says, well, your professor may have, chosen something a bit more controversial for you. Okay, before you say that, my professor, one of her demonstrations to the class, one of her presentations, which I was very, very pleasantly surprised with her and grateful to her for doing this. One of the things she did was she showed how people on the left and the right use their words in a survey to skew the person to think one way or another. And here's the thing. She showed a Democratic Party poll first, as a first example of an incorrectly executed survey. And she showed the Democrat side first. And every single little thing, she criticized the Democratic survey just as much, if not more, than the Republican survey. And I was like, thank you. Because it's not just one side or the other, they both do it. Whether you like it or not, they both do it. Okay, people say not to use the word smart because it might actually compliment them, but you do a lot of disservice to say that someone isn't smart when they're able to do stuff like that and know how that psychology works. So I'm going to use it. It's smart on their part to get people to come join them. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make them morally right. So don't mistake that when I say that. My other little soapbox moment for the day. So get a news article. Read that. Well, actually, hold up. Let me say. Read the research article. Just the introduction and the discussion. That's it. And then go back and read the news article. Now go back to the research article and try to find if what that news article said, if what they said was kind of true, know how exaggerated they may have been with the results. Especially the title, because the title is the most eye-catching part of it, and that is usually the most dramatized part of the article. Alright, so anyway, marshmallow test. Let's see. Let me see the discussion. Alright, so Dr. Walter Mischel and Ebbe B. Ebbesen, forgive me if I mispronounce that, Attention and Delay of Gratification, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, 1920, volume 16, I believe? Yeah. Volume 16, number 2. This is page 335 that I'm looking at. It is in the first full paragraph. Towards the end of that first full paragraph in that page. Alright, let me read the full paragraph to you. The experimental conditions exerted potent effects on the children's delay behavior, as seen in the finding that 6 out of 8 children waited the maximum 15-minute time when they could attend to neither the immediate nor the delayed rewards, whereas the mean waiting time was about 1 minute when they could attend to both rewards. These differences between conditions suggest that it is inappropriate to conceptualize delay of gratification as if it hinged on an all or none ability. Or they put in quotes, ability. Instead, most of the subjects in the present study, in spite of their young age, seem capable of delay of gratification. The extent to which they did delay depended critically on the specific conditions of the delay period. Okay, that is weird. That's interesting. The initial theorizing about delay behavior led to predictions of results which were the direct opposite of the obtained findings. It was predicted that attention to the outcomes available in the choice situation while waiting would enhance delay behavior. Instead, it sharply reduced delay of gratification. Extensive observations of the children's behavior during the delay period provided some clues for a better understanding of the mechanism through which they mediated their own goal-directed waiting. Forgive me, I believe the original thing I started on was everyone likes to blame science. Especially the conservative social media influencers that I know of. Well, they're not really social media influencers, but you know what I mean. They're video content creators. These people say that science is bad, that science is wrong. I know it's not their fault. I know they don't mean for it to be that way. But they say it as if science is to blame here. Granted, I know it's 1920. But they still use things like this in modern day research. This happens, I read this all the time in research papers where they thought one thing would happen. They thought one hypothesis would happen. But it was completely the opposite, but they still publish it. To say that scientists are to blame is a very uninformed opinion. It's not okay to remain uninformed. If it's by accident, I mean, I'm not horribly offended and I'm in psychology, and I started off in in like a hard science major. After all, I'm wanting to study the brain. I have read my fair share of scientific research journals. 1 second, gotta drink my water again. I have read my fair share of research articles, and there are many times where the hypothesis was completely different from what actually happened in the experiment. And it's very interesting because in the midst of everyone wanting to prove their own little hypothesis to be correct, other scientists still hold them accountable. Before they can even publish their research, they have to have a whole group of scientists, a huge group of scientists, have to analyze it and make sure that everything makes sense. Peer review doesn't mean hypothesis matches data. It means that scientists check and make sure that what happened was legit, and what the researcher says happened actually did happen. As opposed to when you get certain research articles like, drinking milk causes autism. Yes, that was I can't even say legitimate. That used to be a research article that came out, but that doctor was found to be completely a farce. Was a complete farce. And he got his license revoked, got his doctor's license revoked, got everything revoked because, come on now. Like, really? Okay. But that is like such a one-off event to happen because of this whole peer review thing that we have. We have a whole peer review system in the science realm. So, don't blame the scientists. Blame the journal companies that are in charge of publishing this research. And then on top of that, don't get me wrong, I get it. There are some doctors out there that are complete complete BS artists, if you know what I mean. And yes, I'm looking at you, Fauci. Go away. We don't like you. Go, leave. Just leave, leave. I've looked at several meta-analyses about masks, several of them. And for those who don't know what a meta-analysis is, it's where someone looks at multiple experiments revolving around a similar topic or subject, gets multiple research articles together, reads them, and figures out what the average result was. If most of them say this thing happened or that this thing didn't happen. I looked at several meta-analyses about the research around masks, and most of them seem to be inconclusive at best about whether or not masks actually work. Keeping that in mind, Fauci, buddy, you really don't have much evidence to back up your claims on. You really don't. I mean, and that's me looking through a liberal database. That's me looking at a liberal database. And even that is inconclusive at best. So, Fauci, bro, you're not looking so hot right now. Okay, that sounds weird. But you know what I mean. It's just, I don't know. It's one thing if there was, like, a decent amount of evidence in your favor. But right now, the evidence is inconclusive at best. It is very recently published pieces of research, and it's not looking too good. Fauci, buddy. Just don't, And that is coming from a superhero wearing a horrible looking mask that you should totally take seriously. You would have no problem taking this seriously at all. Never. You shouldn't. How dare you? I'm offended. And if YouTube fact checks me, YouTube, I'm happy to pull up all this research for you. I have it right here, right now. I will do it. For you, from PubMed themselves. Because that is what Super Mellow Yellow does. I look at research all day, every day. 365 days a year, even on Christmas. I mean, that's what I do. Oh, I look at research and it's like, cool. Sorry, excuse me as I adjust my mask, my superhero mask. One day I might make a cape. I might make a cape one day, just for the heck of it. Yeah, so if y'all want to hear more about this, feel free to just subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, and I have a Twitter. I have a Twitter now. I've never had a Twitter before, but now I do. I have a Twitter now, so follow me on Twitter. I don't have much, but I do have a Twitter. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also subscribe to my Rumble channel, both under the name. The one, the only, the brave, beautiful, awesome girl, Super Mellow Yellow. Yeah, I don't know what to expect, but you know what? This is gonna be fun. I don't care what happens. This is fun. I love this. Alright, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and please do have a good one. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.